I see someone walked in. Who's that? We'll make sure y'all can hear me and all like that. Good. Is this someone I know? Well, hello anyway. Last lecture, we've been working out the kinks of how to, I'm not a technical person, so we've been working it out. And last time, I waited for people to come, and I waited by watching participants, and no one came for a half hour. But then I finally realized that I'd been sitting there not saying anything, and there was someone else in the room also not saying anything. It was embarrassing because you don't look at participants, you look at, and now there's two of you. There's a little person icon in the upper left, and that's how many people are there. So I sat there for a half an hour waiting for people, and people were there. It was funny, but way more embarrassing. And so now I know when there's a person in the room. That's a plus. And person number two, who are you? Do I know you? Not that I mean for every person who comes in the room to speak up, but we've got a couple minutes. No problem. Since we have a couple minutes, let's just look at stuff. Gem. Gem. What name starts with J-E-M? J-E-N, I know. Jennifer, Jenny, things like that. Gem. Maybe it's Jennifer Miller. Ooh. So it could be initials. There you go. Now I'm thinking. So let's just look at stuff. You guys want to look at a game? You want to look at Joseki? What would be a fun way to pass, let's say, 10 minutes? You guys could call out coordinates and play the Blackstones. Any ideas for our 10 minutes before we start the actual? Okay, no one's talking. I'll just start showing something then. What will we show? Let's do this one. That would be... Oh, no, it's here. Okay. So this is a game I played long time ago. When I first got to 6 Dan, I stopped playing and just taught for 10 years. And this is my first game back after a 10-year not playing. And I entered, there's a annual judo tournament, which I entered. I thought it was a good time to start to get back, and this was the first game. I'm white. I would never play this way now, but Make sure I got this going right. It's been a while. There we go. So here, there's two choices. I can take the bottom and give black, let him continue on his moyo, or I can fight, which is what I did. And I had this game reviewed with a pro, and he says, they're both fine, of course, but here the fight's kind of hard for white because, there's more black stones around. So I know that Joseki's this way. We'll just look at it. So here's like the Joseki. And I chose to not play it because I didn't want to, I hadn't played in 10 years. I didn't want to face this move. So if he were to play here, Atari, down, Atari, throw in, I can't capture, right? Because it's snapback, which means I have to take, and again I have to take, and again I have to fill. Now I know this is not only playable for white, but better for white, but I'm a clump, I'm unsure of my life. I just didn't want to face this. And this guy, he's a well-known 8-dan. I mean, he really knows what's going on. So, he beats pros easily. So what I did instead was just drop down. And the loss is, let's say, insignificant. That's not quite true. And I come here. Now black plays the first mistake. This is actually reversed, right? I knew that at the time. So it's this way. Black should drop down third line, which settles his group and attacks my corner. I need to defend the corner. But what he did was he played here, giving me this move, a perfect move for white. I get the proper extension. I'm getting all the territory down here. And he's thinking, I don't mind because I'm after the attack. Oh, we have 4 people now. Hello, 4 people. Calcifier, good to see you. We had a couple extra minutes before we actually started, so I thought I asked people, what would you like to do? No one spoke up. So I'm just sharing a game from my history. I run out, and black should now start the rest of the game. It's not time to fight in the center. Well, he did fight in the center. And so it went this way. And right away, I'm like, oh, man, what do I do now, Now, the normal pattern is here. But for some reason, I was just absolutely positive intuitively it needed to be this way. Okay. Well, let's stop there because we're coming up on time. But now I was really comfortable with this opening. I knew he had made mistakes, and I knew I hadn't. And I had this tremendous attack against the A group for the next, 50 moves. And in my head, I'm like, I know I'm ahead. I know I'm doing great. But I also know, hey, George, I also know that he's not going to have any of that. I know he's got something up his sleeve that I don't see, and that at any moment, it's all going to switch. And sure enough, he pulls out this from who knows where, and the entire board switches from me being in control and ahead to him being in control and ahead. I knew it was coming, and there it was. And at that point, I don't know if you guys feel this, do this in your experience, but I became despondent, like, oh, I knew I was no good. I knew I could, all this self-doubt, and instead of succumbing to that, I say, well, come on, wait a minute. I'm a Go teacher. I'll just do what I tell my students to do. So I broke down the board in my head, worked it all out, and I came up with, I would say, one of my, in 60 years of playing Go, 55 years of playing Go, I came up with one of the few brilliant moves. I played this move and I brought it all back. It was a beautiful move and ended up winning. And it was really quite a fun game. And in those kind of games, it's in a physical public place. It's a physical tournament. And, there's 30 people around the board all staring. What's going to happen next? It's a fun little situation. Okay. We are, oops, I didn't mean to close that. I have to, okay, how do I do this? Oh, George is here. George, I ended this game. I closed off because I wasn't thinking. This is actually the board I wanted to show the real today on. So I need to stop presenting this. What happens if I just open it? Will that work? Let me try that. Well, my private D, open. Okay. No, it didn't work. Okay. You got any ideas, George? I'm looking to change there's end stream. That's not right. Edit. Nope, that's not it. Pop out dashboard, send feedback, stop sharing. There you go. Oh, glad I found that. Now I'm going to share. We did it. Ha ha. Just like that move I told you about. Brilliant. Okay. Great. We did that just we did that just in time. Fixed the problem. Anyone who doesn't know, George is my tech guy. More than tech guy. He's organizer, encourager. He's the one I go to and say, George, I don't know what to do. And he tells me what to do and calms me down. Okay. So I was preparing some homework for a student, and I brought up 3 games. Game 1, and I didn't know which ones I was going to use. The first one, I said, well, this is good. And I did the homework for him to show him an example of what I was looking for because it was complex. Then I went to the next game. I said, okay. Then I went to the part of the game where his homework was. I said, okay, now here, you do it. So I had a third one left over, and I looked at it this morning and go, it's perfect not for the exercise I was giving him, although we might do that later. But it was a great example game for a lot of things. So I think we'll all check it out. Now, we've had 3 public/free, we'll call them lectures. But the point is they're supposed to be interactive, which makes it more interesting, more entertaining, more educational. But it's a little like pulling teeth, getting people to give their ideas. So just encouraging anyone who would like, Jim, I see you there. Speak up when you have if you have input. Okay, so we're going to look at what they did and what they should do. And I've only seen, I just went through quickly maybe 40 moves, and it was like, wow, there's so much to look at here. Okay, everything's normal so far. Normal Joseki. That Joseki for white, I love that Joseki. Life, points, and sente. Oh, I love that. Right? Now we can also play here, right? That's another unfinished corner. But, man, you're going to get hit hard, right? So this corner's easier. And this is a big principle in Go. If it's easier, it's better. If there's any equity in size, go the easy way. The harder it is, the more points he's getting, the more profit he's getting. I say he, of course, it's he, she, it. Or nowadays, there's other ones. Let's not get started on that. Black pinches. I think the pinch is fine, but if I'm going to pinch, the question is, what works considering the left? Well, if I'm looking at the left side, right away I'm thinking 4th line and space. Now, this is an intuitive issue, but does this make sense? The difference in Josekis here? That A fits naturally? I guess that was the question. No comments. Well, again, it's just intuitive. And George is suggesting, well, does it also hold true with A? And when it comes to the left, yes. But the pinch you can't pinch and get less effect on white. Even 3rd line is more effect. So 1 closer is, in my mind, a big difference. So that's the balance. Here, lots of choices here. White comes out. I won't argue that. Okay. Someone other than George. George is getting pretty strong. So ideas for white's next move? Anyone know Joseki here? Okay, George. No one's talking. Do you know it? Ooh, calcifier. Don't know that Joseki, but maybe R6. Okay, I like the idea. A and B have a natural relationship, the long nights move, and they have some support with the C stone. So we clearly have a relationship and we're building the right. That makes sense. Now, there's a perspective here. how does one know that there must be some external way to find better moves than other moves? And in general, all things being normal, we first look to defense, then attack, and then finally size. White B clearly has size. Q3 looks like an inside move, so it's tempting to play P3. Yeah, we'll look at that. This A-B combination is wonderful on the right. Why? Because it's so big. It's a large size. Well, that's the least characteristic we're looking for, size. So let's look at the next one. George's idea. What about this? Well, we can call this defense because it does make black weak on both sides. Okay. The weaker black is, the stronger we are. There's that relationship. But there's zero size. I mean, if black were to play there, it's picking up 4 points, pretty small. It's bigger than that, but I would say the biggest characteristic is the weakness of the A stone, followed by the enormity of, I'll just say black 1. I mean, we're talking the left, the bottom, the center. Black is suggesting greatness. And that, in general, is bigger than the right. So, and the actual Joseki out of the books goes along this way. It's this move. So we're defending ourselves, hurting that Blackstone's going to get pounced on next move, and we're coming into the biggest area. M4, there you go. Now, this allows black to play, some sort of connection move. Black could prefer to not play this way because now there's less liberties on each side, which is really going to come into play later. That's why we tend to play this. There's only one cut, and it's just not going to work ever. So super strong at the loss of 1 point, way better to get the strength. And then white fixes. So this isn't the Joseki I would have chose at the beginning, but being here makes sense. Really dealing with black's left side, bottom, and now this just tripled in size. So nice result for white. Okay. This is one of those moves where when the pro sees it, he says, well, you can't say it's bad, but why are you playing there? Whatever you play next is the primary move, right? This one is not the primary move. Just play the move you're going to play. Don't play the secondary moves. Now we forced black to break out into our area while attacking us. So that exchange really favors black. Okay. Now I know where white played next. I saw that when I just looked briefly. But I want you guys to tell me possible white moves. Give me some coordinates. Hey, we're up to 6. I mentioned, 20 minutes ago when we sat around waiting for people that our first 3 public lectures were pretty much working out the kinks. And last time the kink was, I thought there was no one in the room because I'm looking at participants and I was the only one. So I sat there for a half hour, and so did the other person that was in the room. We sat there without, I didn't know he was there. Finally, half hour into it, I see him, he perks up. I was looking in the wrong spot. There's a people icon in the upper left with a count. I didn't know that. So I've been looking at participants. It was very embarrassing. Okay. M4, M4, still M4, R8, R8 is going to be nice soon. P7, P7, L4. Okay. I would say these are the obvious moves we're looking for. Yeah, these are the moves that comes to one's mind. I would say the one we're going to get rid of first is this one, because black can simply break through, and now white has two weak groups, so that's a bit too far. So let me get rid of that. The next one we don't want is B, because now white has two weak groups. White's group on the bottom is horribly weak. 0 base inside a sphere of black. Now, that sphere of black is more obvious when I put it here, but all this is certainly the assumed. I mean, white is in bad shape. So B's just out of the question. C, okay, we're starting to get somewhere. The problem is it didn't work. Now, we can say that, oh, that move helped me. Well, yeah, you're giving away a lot on the right to get. It helped, but it's just cut. We don't need to sacrifice. So if I was going to do that, I prefer to have it here. Okay, now I'm not cut. That would make sense. But again, we started this with the idea of there's got to be a hierarchy of what's important. N3, the marked stone. Weak. It's 3-1 in our favor. That's how we decide where to play. So pounce on it. Don't let him out and cut you. And if he tries to cut us here, he'll die. So if he wants to get out, if he tries to cut us, he'll die. And now we're not cut. It's a net. Now we can come back here. Perfect. Now black doesn't want to live because this surround is so big. So he's going to want to come out. Uh-oh. There's a knight's move. We're threatening the knight's move cut. Now black's the weak one. So the order here is important. Get your group in order and then decide, I'm still dissatisfied. I know he can't cut me, but now I've removed the peep and now I trust my group. Great, if that's what you think. Me, I don't know. I'm gonna attack this group. Okay. Oh, hey Chris. White can clamp. Oh, I wish. Oh, I don't think Chris is gonna mind. I'm gonna call him in the room so he can show us stuff. Raven, RAV3N. Chris, if you like, you don't have to. I don't want to abuse your power. Hey, Chris. For those of you who don't know, Chris is pretty gosh darn strong. Yeah, he's pretty strong. So, Chris, I'm going to give you control. What's the clamp you're talking about? I would be so worried. I'm not, yeah, I believe you because you are above me. But I am seeing, if black A, white B, I'm seeing two cuts. And white has problems. If white can play it, it's technically stronger than M4. But M4 is standard. So we can see the complications. I'm the kind of person that's going to go, why in the world? There's dog poo over there. Why am I going to go step in it? I'm not going to go step in that. And Chris is like, actually, it comes off very easily, and it's not a problem. Great. I'm glad he knows that. But that's, to me, that's, yeah, I can see everything's fine. But yeah, he called me sensei. That's silly. Okay, so he came up with a great move, saying that person's M4 was better than my move, perhaps, if you can read out the complications. It says, if you can read them out, good luck with that. Looks like it's probably going to be better. Ooh, that's deep. So we should go back and find out who suggested this move, and then I should get on my knees and apologize. But I won't do that because it would take me a long time. I have bad knees. Okay. You were the one who suggested it? And Chris suggested it. And I said, oh, no. Okay. So here I'm like, really? Now, again, all things are possible, but this sure seems to be a funny direction. Okay, black comes out. Okay, now this is a couple Q players. In my mind, 1, 2, 3 Q, they're starting to get pretty strong. Now, there's also 1, 2, 3 Q players that are just don't know anything and just happen to win half their games. I don't know. But a lot of them are pretty strong. But to me, this is kind of one of those chaotic things. Again, Chris could read it out, but it's just cuts everywhere. What are you doing with all the cuts? Get out, defend, and attack back. Man. If white plays accurately, this jump, yeah. So that's a good way to say it. The moves that you see me, I'm like, this is just causes so much concern. They could be good if you can get all the accurate readout down. Then, okay, maybe. And maybe even better. But that's really asking a lot. Yeah, I'm a much simpler person. Also, this move bothers me. Yeah, but what about, let's just do it one space simpler. Does this bother us? Not at all. Well, isn't this white stone doing more? Yeah. And then you can say, well, what about one further? I don't particularly see why not. So there's lots of ways to look at things of this cut, but this seems to be clearly the least. Okay, I'm going to read here. The accurate shape for white is to cut before connecting. Well, since he said that, he has to show us, because I have no idea what he's talking about. Ooh, nice. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be fun to be Chris and you just know all this stuff? Next. I could not handle all that right, me either. I will try this if the shape comes up. Black is asking for trouble. Yeah, Chris and I went through this a while back. He was helping me with some of my attitudes and fears and stuff like that, because I hadn't played an actual serious competitive type game in decades. And after he helped me, I had one with him. And I approached the game the way he's looking at it now. So my normal way is, well, what in general is a good, strong move? I mean, that's going to get you pretty far up there. You can solve a lot of your problems that way. But to play at that level, I have to look at all the options, even the sharp ones, stay absolutely focused, and start reading out. I was like, man, that was a lot of work, exhausting. I'm still thrilled by how well I did. And I know that Chris played in a manner that encouraged me to do well. Don't you think I don't know you did that? Okay. So here. My suggestion, this is a good example of a lot of things. How do we approach moves? Look at so white to play. White looks around. Hey, my ace stone. He's going to gobble that sucker up. I better jump out. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. Well, what else am I going to do? That's the question. That's the point of all my lectures, all my stuff, all my reviews is look around. We have of the things we're talking about, the points of interest are the A and the B. B is the most important by far. How's it doing? Well, a quick little peek, and it's like no base, inside a sea of black. Yes, there might be some sharp variation where we don't have to worry about this. I would never, no. I'm going to defend my B group. I don't care what Chris says. I don't care about the better way. I care about saving my B group. So I'm going to start pouncing on that black stone right away and later deal with my A group. Now, I'm assuming that everyone listening understands that and on a basic level agrees with that. But this is 1 and 2Q, and they're not doing it. This is where white played. So this brings questions to my mind. Like, do they know it? And if so, why aren't they doing it? Partly, a big reason people don't play, I'll use the word correctly or sanely, is because they're having fun with Go. And Go is an extremely fun game. And we get involved in fighting and this and that. And that's completely, totally valid. And I do that sometimes. But really, to me, the fun about Go is figuring out the puzzle. And here, I'm going to defend B. So that was a little rambling I did. Yeah, this makes sense. I'm going to play this way. As black, my Moyo is far above anything white's got going on. And this hurts white a lot. My second choice would be here, saying you better capture that stone, and now you're in worse trouble, right? But it's all about white's group. So from here, we're just going to see a lot of moves based on chaos. White can go as far as J4. I think Chris is saying when it's time to play on the bottom, you don't have to play close. You can play more. Is that what you're saying, Chris? Yeah. Now, again, you can see what Chris is doing every time. Well, if Black's response, if White can handle it, then White's doing more than this, and White's doing more than this, right? And if I was playing in the open section against some pro in a tournament, I would seriously consider what can I get away with. But if I'm playing a basic game, I'm just going to take care of business real quick. Yeah. If this works, 9 down walks in. Oh, Chris, you need to understand. H4, you're doing even more, and it worked because of this. And Chris goes, oh, I should have seen that. Okay. So here we're just going to be getting more and more complex, right? And I think the game's going to start getting wasted, meaning we're not going to see a lot. But this beginning stuff, starting with the pinch, we saw a number of examples of how do we approach the board. Okay. Now, all that being said, if this was like a much stronger players, then we would have been able to continue these questions much further. But these Q players went into chaos kind of quickly, and the questions fail. So we can instead, I want to experiment with something. There's a certain thing I'd like to do sometime in these lectures, which George knows. It's called take turns. But to do that, I need to know people's level. And I don't seem to have any access to that. So the experiment I want to do is for everyone to speak up and state their ranking, approximate ranking. And we'll see if that works. And if it does, then we can go in that direction. So everyone, give me your rank. Ten to 12. Chris, we know. We'll call him 9 down. 10, 5Q. Jim, 5Q. You're going to have so much more fun in 1 or 2 steps. You're going to really start enjoying yourself more. Oh, tokens RJ, I forgot. Hey, Ryan. 1 to 3 down. I meant to ask you about that because you were doing 3 down for a while, and all of a sudden you're down to 1 down. I'm like, what? What's that about? Because you can play some Go when you want to. Okay. So let's try a take turns because we have a 10Q and a 5Q and a 1 down. Perfect. So, we can't unless you're all in the game. Okay. That's me working out. Thank goodness this is a free one. Working out the details. Interesting. So, George, you and I will have to discuss how we can do take turns. I guess calling out coordinates. Let's try it. So, if you don't mind, the 10Q who doesn't have a name, if you could, you and I will play. The idea is that we'll play, and hopefully before too long, it'll be clear that I have an advantage. I mean, it's a hard word to say, substantive advantage. And then we go back and look how that happened. And then we go back to the first mistake, and then the 5Q steps in. And we try it with that. And then go back and review how that happened. And then the 1 down steps in, this kind of thing. So 10Q, if you're willing. If not, we'll jump up to Jim. 10Q can call out a coordinate. Q16. We'll go basic here. And you keep them coming. I'm playing you. Q4. I'm going to kick one off as usual. As he's thinking about his moves, I'll pick F3. For some strange reason, when we started this game, the stones looked like balls to me. Still waiting for the coordinate. And I was just struck. In my head, I started juggling them. J3. And then it reminded me, I used to be a juggler. We're going, how long ago? Well, let's say 50 years ago. And I juggle at Renaissance fairs and all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun. Hey, George, you're a juggler. Waiting for a coordinate, I once juggled with the Flying Karamazov brothers. Now, still waiting for a coordinate. I wasn't good, but they were professional. So when we went to passing pins, that pin would land in my hand absolutely perfect every time, which took the pressure off me completely. Still waiting for coordinate. And that meant all I had to worry about was tossing my club anywhere near him. N16. N16? That's an unusual one. What to do about that? I'm going to go 3-3. And that's a fun experience, right? Trying to keep up, throwing my pin, not worrying too much about it because I know he's going to catch it and do whatever he wants. And then boom, there it is. And boom, there it is. Oh, man, that felt good. Looking for a coordinate. Q3. Q5. Assuming the next move, but I might be wrong. Oh, thank you. So he said Q5. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Unnamed 10Q. Say again. Because I moved stones around. Was it Q6? Give me a coordinate. R6. R6. All's fine so far. R7. I like this. Every time he's about to put a move down, R8, I go, oh, what's it going to be? Where's it going to be? Okay, we have a position, a very interesting position. Gosh, these come to mind. I know there's no rush in Black's area, so I assume C. Now notice A and B are middle game. Are we in middle game? No, we're in the opening. So I'm going to play C. If I'm wrong and I need to respect his wall, then I'll fall behind. But we're about to find out. This unnamed 10Q is going to beat me. It's going to be so embarrassing. I kind of prefer the Blackstones here a little bit. It's so easy to get confused on the Go board. J17. Well, I got to tell you, I'm pretty happy to see that move. So now I'm able to break. I'm coming into Black's big area as I'm ready to really hurt the Blackstone. So it's all going to be Sente, and his area is just going to go away. So pretty much, I kind of made a statement like, okay, it's over. And I shouldn't have put it that way. But just emotionally, it's like, oh man, I'm walking into his area and he has a weak group. Really makes me feel off the hook here. Let's play a few more, see how it goes. That's what I expected you to do, but I immediately see whites. But yeah, so you see that. N 14. Then this serious, yeah, that would be pretty much just game over. Whether the Blackstone here lives or dies, just for fun, let's look at, let's make sure it lives. Let's just say that's alive. Then we see what White's building on the left is just bigger than anything Black's doing. And that's assuming it lives on top. Now, I just threw some stones down, but just so we can see the picture. So, like the 10Q said, you can immediately see, oh, there's a burden. It's actually hard to know what to do next for Black because this is still an uncomfortable Black group. So you could consider touching and trying to get something going, coming out, giving White a little something so we can get out faster. To me, this looks perhaps best because now Black's like not feeling bad all of a sudden. Now we had to give White, we had to give away something to White. We made White thick. And White can still come into this, it's like, oh, Black's getting safe. Yeah, but all the Black territory is going away. So there's a chance this is still playable, but certainly the meaning of the board is lost for Black. So let's go back to here and have, did you think about, I have an annoying little heart that's covering the coordinate. Instead of L17, L17, did I think of S something? S, the different S moves would be these two. S8. S. Oh, S8, no. So let's talk about S8. And we'll start with that we all agree. Let me turn that down. That's a huge click. Stop it. We all agree this is horrible, horrible, horrible for white. If crawling on the second line is horrible for white, then why am I doing it? Right? Because if I don't do it, he gets this for free. At no cost, he's picking up all of this. This and the right now is, I mean, yeah, I can live there, but it's way more a black entity. So immediate thickness and no access for free. So instead, I hand him, tell you what, I'm going to crawl one time. Yeah, that little exchange is better for you, but only a little bit better. And if I don't, you get a lot better. So is the next one Sente for black? No. Oh, then I'm going to stop immediately. Okay. Does that make sense? Token? Oh, token. Ryan that wouldn't have asked that. Okay. He did ask it. Thank you, Ryan. So we are here. Wrong button. I hate when that happens. I'm going to remove these letters. And there's a 5Q. Oh, Jim is the 5Q. Jim, if you don't mind, could you take it from here and give us some coordinates? How you'd handle this as black? Hate to put you on the spot, but I'm going to. It is tricky, isn't it? Yeah. That's one thing I really enjoy about Go. It's just like, what in the heck am I going to do? If I do this, it feels bad. If I do that, it feels bad. Now, I like the black. There's a lot of things about this black position I like. A lot of things I don't. I mean, white's getting points. Black has, how many points does black have? 6? While black has tons. But black has tremendous potential. Yeah. L16. Yeah. Continuing the line does seem to be the logical deal. Now, something George just said, which many were thinking, black's position on the bottom, let's just move those 2 stones up one. If it looked like this, then I might start actually preferring black's position because the stones on the bottom can't be flattened so easily. But when they are on the bottom, I mean, boom, there goes everything, right? Really hard. Okay, let's take it from here. I have to Hane. I'll let Jem play her own moves here, if it's a her. Picture looks like a her, even though it's a small picture. How backwards of me to use words like him and her. L, L, 15 seems only. A is certainly the normal move here, right? Settle my group, threaten the cut, take the points. That's the normal. But on this board, I must say, I would really be concerned about black B. Oh, I get so many points on top, though. Yeah, but the black B is a real concern. So I'm going to switch that. And I'm going to go to the B side. And it doesn't bother me so much because when I look to the left of the wall I'm building, it looks nice to me. Back to Jim. L, 14. Okay, what to do? That turn is still good for you and has cente value. I think White's happy extending there as he's building a bigger territory connecting in the center line. Yeah, if I understand you, yeah. L, 12. Okay. Also like F5 takes me a while, F5, and start trying to build from there. Right. Okay, I find myself quite concerned here. We used to be thinking about area 2 as the moil. But as you know, black has some little stones there. It can be flattened. Black has switched it, so now we're talking about area 1 instead of 2. And area 1 can't be flattened. That area scares me. Okay, so A speaks to the right a great deal in a practical way. So I'm going to deal with that. But it also speaks to area 2 in a very well said secondary way. So again, starting to prefer the black stones, although White's getting a lot of points. So it's, it's a fair exchange. Okay. A or B? Well, B's saying, oh, I'll just live in there. Really? Looks a little hard. I don't want to do it. So I'm going to play A. See what Jen's going to do with that. Jennifer Emily Miller. A silly game we play sometimes in the car. You look at license plates, and they have the 3 numbers up front, and you apply your name to those letters. So for me, instead of Lance, it would be whatever the license plate said, like R would be Rance. And you do the whole name with those letters. R9. Yes. Oh, concerned here. Okay. If black turns, now I'm doing this in my head. My premise here is, as viewers are watching this, right? You guys are in the room watching this, and you're seeing what's on Lance's mind. What's he looking at? How to go Gantz, GSX, go Gantz, Zemper. Yeah, you see why it's funny, because it's like Gantz Zemper. Anyway, so hopefully this is meaningful. So now I consider the turn. You know, to me that looks like half of that. To me, that's huge. That's not huge. It's big, but it's not huge. So I care less. So I have to ask myself, yes, he's about to take a quite reasonable area 1. How's he doing in area 2? Everything just got harder in area 2, and area 2 is now looking bigger than area 1. So I'm about to switch over. Okay, so now my focus is on area 2, but before I look there, okay, now that's to me, a big thing to say. I'm looking at, oh, hi, Rizwal. I remember you from last time. 3-3 still open at move 30. I think Rizwal is asking about A. Absolutely. I don't see no reason not. Yeah. So we're really looking at that area. Indeed, that was the area I'm looking at. And of course, it's big and it looks downright practical. But for that many stones, and in comparison to the other area, I'm going the other area. Okay. So before I commit to this, I don't think so. Before I commit to this, I'm going to start looking at the other things on the board. Like, we have a stone missing here. Black may well be Sente. White, not Sente, but big. Well, about Sente. There's some Sente value here, right? What's black going to do? Come up again? Well, it's, smaller and smaller. So there's this move that I've been waiting for. Okay, so I'm looking at A, and to me, A and B are the same move here. I would decide later which one makes me feel less endangered. So I'll just say A. I'm looking at B, and I'm looking at C. If I simply, well, right away I'm going to remove C because there's no way I can compete with area 2. Okay. But the thing about C, the general idea, remember A was like A or D, whichever one I'll decide later. It's the reducing move. C is the I grow as I reduce him move. Well, what are those? That C and D, A and C, we know that. Is there another one? Yeah. D. Grows me, reduces him. Now, we don't see that one a lot. But check it out. Oh, black's getting look at all black got. Yeah, but white got something greater. And if black says no way, okay. Oh, black's taking away my points. Yeah, but I mean, I just entered his area big time. So I always start with the general idea. A, B, C. Those are the general ideas in my mind. I mostly desire C because I'm growing. I'm getting points. A, I'm reducing. I don't get 1 point. As a matter of fact, I get a group he can attack. So C feels better. The only problem is, how am I going to play C and actually have an effect on limiting him? That's when I would find D. On this board, I am liking D a lot. Let's play A, but even safer. If he says no, what would say no here? Any sort of no, I'm scared. But here, I'm not scared at all. There's absolutely no way he can hurt me. She Hershey candy bar. They connected. So that's how I come across this move. Hopefully I didn't I go on adventures in my mind. Hey, Bambi. Good to see you again. K13, unfinished area, yeah. So, Jim, give it a try. And notice, Jim, everyone noticed what Jim just went through. She's like, I don't know. This is really tricky. Yes. And then she came up with a sequence that made me really have to think through stuff. Doesn't mean it was best, but I was a little concerned. Any ideas, Jim? I would say less tricky. I know what you mean, and it certainly fits. But to me, this gains a point of clarity. C12. Thank you, Jim, for stopping by and helping. I really appreciate it. C12. Okay. So, and we're almost done. Okay. Let's address this idea of trickiness. So, like here, I would say totally tricky. Anything could happen. Here, a statement was made, and Black's road is clear, not tricky. Tricky for white, except not really, because I'm so weak I must defend. The only question is where. So this is kind of like a straightforward path. A couple small variations. And now it starts up again. Tricky. A, B, bottom, center, left. Where? So this would be tricky. Once and then here. Once this trick is made, things become clearer. Does Black want the right? No. If Black takes the right, clearly the left is just too big. Okay. Should Black start taking the bottom? Well, that is interesting. So a little tricky there. But it seems to be a little not, yeah. I hate to say it's not tricky when it's obviously a very complex game. And her decision to play here, stating A area, no, I'm undercut. If I can come under B and C, no, I don't want A right now. Okay, good. What about the bottom? Well, again, this is a bit much when there's flattening moves. So the idea of saying, let's come in the left. White's moyos becoming greater than ours. Time to come in. Sounds quite rational to me. One thing on my mind when I look at this position is this idea. There's a lot of weaknesses here and some bad shape for White. I am not so sure what White's going to do. Whew, really not. So this is hard for me. So I'm starting to believe what that person said. Tricky situation. I didn't think so, but there's a lot going on here. In our last, there's no last 2 minutes. Okay, well, this was the first time that we've seen the take turns method. There's some negative to it in that there's lag over the internet, so it takes a while and stuff like that. Calling out coordinates is different from putting the stones down, but still, it's interesting and fun, and perhaps valid. We'll think about it. Okay, guys, I hope you had fun. Maybe learned something. And the plan is for once a month on the first Wednesday of each month. Now, we had set this Wednesday in motion before we came up with the first Wednesday. This translates to next week is the first Wednesday, and we'll have another one, and from there go first of the month every Wednesday. I'm still not saying it well, is the free lecture. So we'll see you again next Wednesday. And then we have the Patreon ones, which are on Mondays, and feel free to join. Okay, guys. Right. Thank you, George. Catch you all later. Bye.